The first threat arrived 3 weeks before her daughter was murdered. It was a plain, white envelope slipped under the door of a law office in downtown Copenhagen, Denmark. Inside was a single photograph of 28-year-old Emma Sørensen walking home from court. Across the image, someone had written 3 words in red ink. "Tell her stop." At first, renowned defense attorney Ingrid Sørensen dismissed it as intimidation. She would spend the rest of her life regretting that decision. Because 21 days later, her daughter would be found dead beneath an abandoned pier on the outskirts of the city. And the men responsible believed they had silenced the wrong woman. What they didn't realize was that Emma's death would trigger an investigation that would expose corruption, organized crime, political influence, and a conspiracy stretching far beyond a single murder. This is the story of a mother who refused to surrender, and the powerful people who learned that some battles don't end when a witness dies. They begin. Emma Sørensen was not a lawyer like her mother. She was an investigative journalist. Brilliant, relentless, and stubborn to a fault. For nearly a year, she had been investigating allegations involving a controversial waterfront redevelopment project worth hundreds of millions of euros. Officially, the project promised economic growth and thousands of jobs. Unofficially, residents claimed something darker was happening. Families were being forced from properties through suspicious legal actions. Land values were manipulated. Community leaders who opposed the project suddenly found themselves facing criminal investigations. People whispered about bribery. Nobody could prove it. Emma intended to change that. At the same time, Ingrid was representing several residents in court who were fighting against unlawful property seizures linked to the same development. Mother and daughter found themselves pursuing different paths toward the same truth. Neither knew how dangerous that truth would become. The threats started subtly. Anonymous phone calls, vehicles parked outside Emma's apartment, emails warning her to abandon her investigation. She documented everything. Friends urged her to stop. Police recorded reports but found little evidence. Then one evening, Emma told her mother something that made Ingrid's blood run cold. "I found financial records," Emma said. "Someone very powerful is involved." "Who?" Ingrid asked. Emma hesitated. "If I'm right, it's bigger than we thought." Before she could explain further, she received another call. She left shortly afterward. That was the last time Ingrid saw her alive. 2 days later, Emma disappeared. Her apartment showed no signs of forced entry. Her phone stopped transmitting. Her bank accounts remained untouched. Detectives initially considered voluntary disappearance. Ingrid knew better. Emma had been preparing a major publication. She would never vanish willingly. For 6 agonizing days, authorities searched. Then a fisherman discovered a body beneath an abandoned industrial pier. The victim had suffered blunt force trauma. There were signs of restraint. The medical examiner concluded homicide. The news shattered Copenhagen. For Ingrid, grief quickly transformed into determination. She buried her daughter on a cold autumn morning. By afternoon, she was demanding access to every investigative report. Police arrested 2 local criminals weeks later. Security footage placed them near Emma shortly before her disappearance. Both had extensive records. Both denied involvement. The evidence appeared strong. The public celebrated. The case seemed solved. But Ingrid wasn't convinced. Years in court had sharpened her instincts. Something felt wrong. The suspects lacked motive. Neither had any connection to Emma's investigation. More importantly, financial records showed large deposits into their accounts shortly after the murder. Someone had paid them. The question was who? Using legal avenues unavailable to ordinary citizens, Ingrid began conducting her own inquiry. She interviewed sources Emma had trusted, reviewed notebooks, analyzed emails, examined court records. One discovery changed everything. Emma had hidden encrypted files on a secure cloud server. The password was buried inside a childhood phrase known only to close family. When Ingrid accessed the files, she found documents, recordings, photographs, and transaction histories. The material painted a disturbing picture. Construction firms had been paying intermediaries. Intermediaries were paying public officials. Public officials were approving questionable property acquisitions. Millions of euros were moving through offshore accounts. The corruption wasn't local. It was systemic. And Emma had gathered enough evidence to expose it. Then came the first twist. One of Emma's confidential sources contacted Ingrid anonymously. The source revealed that a senior police official had repeatedly requested updates about Emma's investigation before her death. That information should have been restricted. Yet somehow, someone inside law enforcement had been monitoring her. Ingrid immediately suspected corruption. What she didn't know was how deep it went. Days later, the source was found dead in what authorities described as suicide. Ingrid didn't believe that either. The pressure intensified. Her office was burglarized. Important files disappeared. A car followed her for weeks. Someone attempted to access her bank accounts. Friends urged her to hire private security. She did. But fear wasn't what kept her awake at night. It was the realization that Emma had likely known she was being hunted, and continued anyway. As months passed, prosecutors quietly reopened portions of the murder investigation. New forensic analysis revealed evidence previously overlooked. DNA recovered from Emma's clothing belonged to neither arrested suspect. Another individual had been present, someone authorities had never identified. The original case began unraveling. Meanwhile, financial investigators traced money transfers through multiple shell corporations. Every trail pointed toward a consulting company connected to influential businessman Lars Mikkelsen. Publicly, Mikkelsen was respected. Privately, rumors surrounded him for years. Nothing had ever stuck. Until now, when authorities searched company records, another shocking revelation emerged. The consulting firm existed largely on paper. Its true purpose appeared to be laundering payments between contractors, officials, and criminal intermediaries. Among the recipients was a former deputy minister, several city administrators, and one senior police commander, the same commander who had sought updates about Emma. The scandal exploded nationwide. News outlets covered the story around the clock. Politicians denied involvement. Investigators expanded their probe. But the most devastating revelation was still ahead. A forensic accountant discovered a payment made 10 days before Emma's murder. The money originated from an offshore account linked to Mikkelsen's organization. The payment was directed toward an individual later identified as the organizer of the kidnapping. Suddenly, the murder no longer appeared random. It appeared commissioned, premeditated, planned. Police launched a series of coordinated raids across Denmark. Multiple arrests followed. Several suspects agreed to cooperate. One witness eventually revealed what had happened. Emma had not been intended as a murder victim. The original plan was intimidation. Kidnap her, recover documents, force her silence. But during captivity, she refused to reveal the location of her evidence. Arguments escalated. Violence followed. The situation spiraled beyond control. By the time organizers realized the consequences, Emma was dead. They disposed of her body and attempted to manufacture a cover-up. For Ingrid, the testimony brought mixed emotions. She finally knew the truth, but the truth was horrifying. Her daughter had suffered because she refused to betray her principles. Yet that same courage ultimately destroyed the people responsible. Because Emma had anticipated danger, copies of her evidence had been distributed automatically to trusted contacts if anything happened to her. The conspirators never discovered the safeguard. Their efforts to silence her ensured their exposure. The trial lasted nearly a year. Courtrooms overflowed with journalists. Witnesses testified about bribery, extortion, money laundering, and murder. Some defendants accepted plea agreements. Others fought the charges. The evidence was overwhelming. Recordings, financial records, emails, witness testimony, forensic findings. The conspiracy collapsed piece by piece. By the end, multiple officials, criminal associates, and business executives were convicted. Several received lengthy prison sentences. The police commander was sentenced for corruption and obstruction. Mikkelsen was convicted for orchestrating criminal activities connected to the conspiracy. The men responsible for Emma's abduction and death were sentenced to life imprisonment. On the day of sentencing, reporters surrounded Ingrid outside the courthouse. One journalist asked whether justice had finally been achieved. She paused before answering. "No sentence brings back my daughter." The crowd fell silent. But justice matters because the truth matters. She looked toward the courthouse. They believed they could bury both. For a moment, her voice broke. Then she continued. They were wrong. Today, Emma Sørensen's story is taught in journalism programs across Scandinavia. Her investigation led to reforms, criminal convictions, and greater transparency in public contracting. But behind every headline lies a mother's loss, a daughter who never came home, and a lesson criminals continue learning throughout history. The truth can be delayed, it can be threatened, it can be attacked, but sometimes, the very act of trying to destroy it becomes the evidence that finally brings everything into the light. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories, shocking investigations, and courtroom mysteries every week. What would you have done if you were in Ingrid's position? Would you risk everything to uncover the truth and seek justice for your loved one? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Your support helps the channel grow and brings you more incredible stories. Thank you for watching.